Good morning. I'm Chaplain John Rawlison with the Homestead Reserve Base Chapel, and thank you so much for joining us for day 27 of our Advent devotional series, the Christmas Eve devotion. I hope everybody's excited and ready for Christmas, and today's devotional thought begins with a reading from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 24, verses 15 through 18. And as they talked and discussed these things with each other, Jesus himself came up and walked alongside them, but they were kept from recognizing him. And he asked them, "What are you discussing together as you walk along?" And they stood still, their faces downcast. And one of them, named Cleopas, asked him, "Are you the only one visiting Jerusalem who does not know the things that have happened in these days?" And now from the Gospel of John, chapter 16, verse 33, "I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world." I hope that sometime today you'll have the opportunity to read all of chapter 24 of the Gospel of Luke. And if you're able to complete that, and if you started with the chapter 1 on the if you started with chapter 1 on the first day of December and read a chapter each day until now, you'll have read the entire Gospel of Luke. And I hope that you did that, and I hope that that was a blessing to you. Now, reading Luke 24 feels like riding a roller coaster of disappointment, we might say. And as we read today's chapter, we notice 3 episodes of dashed hope. In verses 1 through 3, the mourning women's grief is compounded as they arrive at Jesus' tomb to discover that his body is missing. But then quickly, angels restore their hope with the announcement that Jesus has risen from the dead. But their joy is short-lived. Their friends don't believe the story when they tell them. And in a final scene, just hours later, Cleopas and his friend walk the weary road to Emmaus, wondering how their dreams for a grand future as citizens of the Messiah's kingdom could have gone bad so quickly. Now, a week before this, Jesus had triumphantly entered Jerusalem while religious leaders looked on with dismay. Jesus' followers must have boasted full hearts as their leader rode into the city like a conquering king, and people laid palm branches down in front of him. However, within 5 days, Jesus experienced an unlawful trial that was very unjust, as well as death on a cross and burial. How could this be? These 2 men were asking as they were walking along this road. And it's likely we can identify with some aspect of the disciples' experience on this roller coaster of disappointment. Disappointment is a regular part of our life in a fallen world. But even if you are well acquainted with the oh no feeling of being let down regularly, you don't need to stay there. Jesus invites us to a hope that ultimately cannot fail. In each instance, in Luke 24, his hurting friends are provided with the antidote of disappointment when he brings his followers back to the truth revealed in Scripture. The angels remind the distraught women of what Jesus said before the devastating turn of events, and what Jesus patiently explains to the men walking to Emmaus invites us to remember the truth about him. Jesus also gave his followers the gift of his presence, which brought needed comfort. He was with them, just as he is with you and me. And even if we don't feel it, even in our darkest moments, Jesus is with us. And this is the promise of Christmas and what we're celebrating now, when he entered the world to save us. It's the promise of Easter, when he rose in victory over death. And it's the promise of Jesus, who's our source of unfailing hope. Well, hope this brought you hope and encouragement. And until tomorrow, Christmas Day, I'm Chaplain Rawlison with the Homestead Air Reserve Base Chapel.